This is Wildcat Country.
It's only right. The ball's in his hands. A milestone victory for Arizona. Simon says championship.
All the inside scoop on U of A athletics.
It's up for Arizona has scored the touchdown. Wildcats win.
Let's go to work, fellas. Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale. And now that I guess every other sport is done, the NBA Finals are done, DeAndre Ayton's time in the Finals is done, so now we can talk a lot of football, and that's what we're going to do on tonight's show. Lamont Lovett, color analyst for the Wildcats on the IMG Sports Network, along with Brian Jeffries. He's going to join us, as well as Kyron Chambers, a 2022 recruit, cornerback out of Texas. We're going to hear from him as well to find out why he committed to the Jedd Fisch administration at Arizona. But, Shane, it's time for the football breakdowns. We're going to do plenty of that over the next few weeks leading up to the first game against BYU on Labor Day weekend. For me, I roll with the Phil Steele magazine, where he has Arizona as one of the 30 worst teams in the country. I know you are more into Athlon, which I used to like, as much. And Athlon thinks a little bit higher the Wildcats than Phil Steele does.
Well, yeah, Athlon collectively has Arizona number 91 out of 130 teams. So there's that. Not triple digits. Athlon Sports put together great previews of each season, and they did a Pac-12 preview, and as you would predict, you would think Arizona is predicted to finish last in the Pac-12 South. ASU predicted to finish first. They did note with an asterisk that the ranking was done before the announcement of the investigation into alleged recruiting violations. Probably not going to make much of a difference this season for ASU. But as ASU first, followed by USC, Utah, UCLA, Colorado, and Arizona. And just to give you an idea of how big a gap they think there is between 5 and 6, Colorado is their number 62 ranked team nationally. Arizona's 91. So big gap there. I don't necessarily disagree, but certainly there's a lot of work to be done, and there maybe there's a gift of lower expectations there for Jedd Fisch. I think the expectations were a lot higher for Kevin Sumlin going into his first season, certainly. So, one analyst also has Arizona as one of the toughest teams, or the toughest team in the Pac-12 to forecast, and I think that's fair too. There's so much we don't know about this team. A lot of new pieces, a lot of guys who didn't play last season who are going to play this year. So I think it favors Jedd Fisch that expectations are low, but certainly we want to see improvement from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And like Coach Fisch told us last week, a team that's going to compete and play hard and give you reason to believe that they're going to improve game after game.
Well, I think it's also a good thing, Shane. Call me crazy. When the expectations are low, the over-under in Vegas is 2.5. Arizona should beat NAU, but find the other 2 wins on the schedule where they're going to be favored. They're probably going to be underdogs in 11 of 12 games. Maybe they're favored over Oregon State or somebody like that, later in the year. But I think that, it's kind of a rough go for them in preseason expectations. But that's fine because, if they win 3 or 4 games, we're going to be excited. Hey, they're not as bad as we thought. And I think the key for me, I'm not worried about what we see early in the year. You want to see this team get better later in the year. And I think the key game that I'm going to circle right now, and this is, in the of course moment, ASU. How do the Wildcats respond against ASU? This is a team that obviously beat the doors off them last year, and we'll talk to Lamont about that later in the show. But, how are they going to bounce back after a 70-7 loss with Chuck Cecil and Ricky Hundley on the staff, guys that have played in the rivalry, who've obviously had success? Jedd Fisch's first game in the rivalry, and with the turmoil at ASU, will this team be better in Game 12 than they are in Game 1? If they aren't, we have a problem. It's not only for motivation purposes, but you want to see them grow throughout the year. That is the key for me going into next year.
Eric, something that Yogi Roth mentioned to us a while ago has been sticking in the back of my mind, and he suggested that this team isn't as far away from being competitive as you might think. Our lasting memory of last season was 70-7. That was our last experience of Arizona football for over 7 months now. So I think we're developing this image in our minds that this team is that bad, as we saw on that day. and they're going to play, and they're entering next season probably that bad, if not worse, because they have a new quarterback. I think they have a lot of good pieces coming back, though, especially on offense. And you know me, Mr. Pessimist. I hope that when I'm trying to be optimistic, you'll listen, because I tend to be a pessimistic guy. I think they're deep at running back despite Gary Brightwell's departure. We saw Michael Wiley being named a Doak Walker preseason candidate. I'm not big on those preseason awards, but it's still a good sign. They added Drake Anderson, who our guy Matt Moreno really likes. And like you mentioned to Coach Fish last week, I think they're going to be fine at wide receiver. They got a lot of depth there, a lot of guys who decided to take their names out of the transfer portal and come back. They've also got 3 returning starters on the offensive line. If whoever starts at quarterback, whether it's Jordan McLeod, who I know you think is going to be the guy, or Gunnar Cruz, who Adam Gorney told us he thinks is probably going to be the guy. If whoever that guy is can be a middle-of-the-road Power 5 quarterback, someone who doesn't make a ton of mistakes, allows his playmakers around him to make big plays, I think they could be a team that puts up 25, 30 points a game, which would be a dramatic improvement from last season. Now, defense, I think, is a different story. I think Don Brown has a lot of work to do. He's got to adjust to the Pac-12 style of play. They added some good transfers. In the Athlon piece, they named a JUCO transfer defensive lineman Alex Navarro Silva as a recruit to watch on that side of the ball. They added some depth in the secondary, some guys who are probably going to start right away. But I think Wildcat fans have got to be prepared for their defense to be lit up early and often, at least in the first half of the season, while they figure out who they are and while Don Brown sort of gets the bearings of the Pac-12.
Oh, yeah, but I want to see the offense, Shane. I mean, I'm an offense-first guy. We know the defense is a work in progress, and obviously Don Brown's blitzing scheme is going to leave corners on islands, and you're going to see some long touchdowns go against the Wildcats. But I want to see better than average quarterback play from Arizona. We've been kind of spoiled as Wildcats fans over the last 20 years at quarterback of the position. Now, Jason Johnson was a pretty good quarterback. I'd say league average when he was there as part of the Pac-10. Willie Tuitama was above average in his upper class years at Arizona. One of the more underrated players, as you and I have discussed with him, that's ever played at Arizona, in my opinion. Then you had Nick Foles, who came in, played a few years, who was obviously one of the better Pac-12 quarterbacks. Matt Scott, in his 1 year under Rich Rod, was one of the best quarterbacks in the Pac-12. He had a little bit of a downtime with Brandon Dawkins. He was probably below average, good runner, but not that great of a passer. But then when you had Khalil Tate, when he came in there for a couple of years, I mean, he was an elite Pac-12 quarterback. And we haven't seen that since. Obviously, Noel Mazzoni kind of ruined Tate in that offense. And then last year's quarterback play was just not great. I forgot Anu Solomon during his time at Arizona. After Matt Scott, between Matt Scott and Brandon Dawkins, Anu played it at such a high level in his freshman year. He got him to the Fiesta Bowl. So we are used to better than average quarterback play. So I'm not content with league average for Arizona's quarterbacks. I know that's probably greedy, but I'm just not.
Well, my point, and I agree with you, Eric, but long term, I agree with you. My point is that we don't know how good any of these guys are going to be. We didn't really see Gunnar Cruz at all. We haven't seen how he's going to at the collegiate level. We've seen some of Jordan McLeod, some of he showed in flashes, excuse me, of being a very good quarterback. Will Plummer's still on the roster. He was iffy at best last season. So my point is that I think with all the supporting cast on offense, as long as you have a quarterback who's Power 5 worthy, who's middle of the road, at least this season, hopefully with an upside to continue to improve, I think this team could be a lot more competitive on offense. I don't think it's weird because they scored 17 points a game last season, but I don't think they were that far away. They just kept finding ways not to score. They get down to the 1 or 2 yard line, and it's like, okay, well, what are they going to do to cheat themselves out of points on this drive? I think the biggest thing is just limiting mistakes and limiting the turnovers. They turned the ball over a bunch. Obviously, they got to get pressure on the quarterback as well. You know how many sacks Arizona had in 5 games last season? You want to guess?
7?
Try 2. 2 sacks in 5 games. Yeah. They got to get pressure on. I think they're going to do better in that regard, but they're still thin. There's not a lot of margin for error. I think Jed Fish has done and his staff have done as well as could possibly be imagined, considering the short time frame they've had to fill those gaps and just the losing history of the team. But all that to circle back to the quarterback, if Jordan McLeod is an average Pac-12 quarterback, like middle of the road, or Gunnar Cruz is, or whoever is the guy, I think this team could put up enough points to, okay, if the defense plays a perfect game for their standards, they could pull off an upset or two and maybe get to 4-5 wins at best. I'm not going to say 6 like our guy Joe Tafoya said. I don't think that's realistic. And like we said last week, Eric, not all 3-9 seasons are created equal. If they're competitive in a lot of those losses, as opposed to 70-7 or 30 to 40 point beatdowns every week, we're certainly going to feel a lot better about year 2 under Jetfish.
Well, I guess we'll find out how it goes. One last thing I want to mention about the quarterback position. Grant Gunnell was kind of the next great hope, and he really didn't live up to it, and it was disappointing to see him transfer out. I wish him nothing but the best at Memphis, but he didn't live up to the hype. It would have been cool to see what he could have done, working with the new staff and Brennan Carroll, Jed Fish, and Jimmy Doherty. But I wish him nothing but the best at Memphis. Just kind of a weird transition for him, but what can you say? All right, let's bring on our guests here. We're going to go back to back. Lamont Lovett, the color analyst for the Wildcats, going to join us first. We're going to talk to him about everything coming up under the Jed Fish era and some memories of his playing days. And then we're going to talk to Kyron Chambers about why he committed to Jed Fish and the Arizona Wildcats here on Wildcat Country. It's about time, Shane, that we have the color analyst for the Arizona Wildcats on radio, and he's been doing that for probably so long that I can't even remember when he started working with Brian Jeffries on the IMG network. Lamont Lovett joins us here on Wildcat Country. Lamont, first of all, great to finally have you on. Shane and I have been wanting to have you on for a while, but glad to make it happen. You do a great job. I have to ask you, this whole transition from Kevin Sumlin to Jed Fish, what were your thoughts when it happened? And what are your thoughts on the Jed Fish administration now?
Well, when it initially happened, I don't think I was probably different from anyone else. I just wasn't as familiar with the hire. I think everybody was kind of all looking in one direction. We were all looking. I think everyone here probably thought the San Jose State coach was going to get the job. So I was like everyone else. We were all kind of a little bit taken back by the hire, but zoom forward now. We're all thrilled to have him here. I think he's done a tremendous job from the day he got here. Under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of a circumstance that probably it seemed a little hostile in the beginning when he got here, but he never flinched. He just kind of, the first day I remember he got on the Zoom call with the team and introduced himself and he just put his head down and just kept working. And he's really impressed, everyone from the alumni, to the community and everyone else. He's just done an excellent job. And so I'm excited. I'm just looking forward, to calling games and watching him run this offense this year. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, Lamont, speaking of alumni, Jed has done a tremendous job bringing back alumni, making them feel like they're part of the university again. They are part of the university again. I think that his predecessor, you don't have to respond to this, but I think his predecessor failed miserably in that regard. What does it mean to you as a Wildcat alum to see that kind of investment being made in Arizona alumni, and how important do you think that will be to the success of the program?
I think it's incredible. I think, honestly, I just think it shows a lot of wisdom. To first, whenever you come into any program, to show respect to the alumni. These are guys that, if any of you want anybody to support you, you want the alumni to be behind you. You want these guys that, have a voice, and the guys that actually understand what it looks like, what it looks like to win, those types of things. You want those guys to be behind you. And he reached out to us immediately. He showed respect for the program. He didn't come in here with a cocky attitude like, this is who I am, and, you guys basically bow down. It was more, he came in, he showed reverence to guys who played here, which he didn't have to do. Immediately reached out to Teddy Bruschi, immediately, guys like Ricky Hunley, bringing those guys back. I just think those are really shrewd and intelligent moves because, it immediately got our attention when we saw guys like Chuck Cecil and Ricky, and bringing Brandon back immediately got our attention because those are guys that we all respect, and we know those are guys that laid it on the line for this program and did a great job. Now, from there, like I heard Coach Fish say the other day, like the marketing job is over, and now it's time to play some football, and I'm excited to see it. I think he's going to do a great job, and I'm completely convinced. I'm kind of a football nerd. I've been really, really, kind of going back, watching film and following all the years that he's, coached at different places. And I'm just really excited to watch.
So not a big surprise, but Arizona, for most experts at this point, we looked at Athlon Sports breakdown of the Pac-12. They're picked to finish last in the Pac-12 South. They're ranked 91st out of 130 among all the division, the FBS teams, and either they're lower in some. Do you think that's about right, or do you think Arizona could surprise a little bit here and there, maybe in Jedd Fisch's first season?
Well, you can't blame them for what they're ranking is the performance of last year's team and what that team did. This is a new coaching. This is, it's going to be a new system, new coordinators, new everything is going to be new. So, I mean, you can only go off of what you know, and so I'm not going to, you don't expect anything different from those. They're ranking basically based off of what they did last year. I think that I can only go by what I've seen thus far. I can only go by the job that he's doing in recruiting. I can only go by, as far as the staff that he's hired. And so just based off of the information that I've seen, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. And I feel like he's going to have some success right out the gate. What that's going to look like, how many wins that's going to translate to, who knows? We'll find out. But, if they can improve just marginally on defense, which is, they're at the bottom right now. So if they can improve there, if they can score a few more points, I think they averaged maybe 17 points a game last year, which is in this conference, you're not going to win a lot of games scoring 17 points. All I know is when his first year at UCLA, they averaged, I think before he got there, they averaged 24 points a game. In his first year, they went up to 32 points a game is what they averaged in his first year. His first year at Michigan, when he was at Michigan, that offense. I think previously, before that, I can't remember what the scoring total was, but I know that they averaged like 40 points a game in that 2016 season that he was there. And his impact is, if you follow where he's been and you look at what he's been able to do, he's had an impact on the offense. So I think the important things are going to be here is to get guys playing better on the defensive side of the ball, getting these guys swarming to the ball, just playing better football. And I think that Don Brown's going to do a good job in that area. I'm not really concerned about having guys play better and getting guys in the right position and that type of thing. It's going to come down to, obviously, I don't want to just sound so cliche as to talk about execution and all those things, but it's going to come down to some basics of winning football. So you're going to have some luck, on an injury standpoint. So I know that this has not been a very deep team. So I think you're going to have be fortunate in the area of injuries to have success. But I think if they can improve offensively, score a few more points, and solidify things on the defensive side of the ball, who knows what can happen.
Well, I asked this to Coach Fisch last week, and he didn't really answer it. So I'm going to ask you instead, Lamont, and I know you'll give me a truthful answer. What position group are you most looking forward to watching, in particular? Now, you were a running back. The running back group has a lot of talent. For me, it's the wide receiver group, which I think is loaded with talent. Which group stands out to you as an area that Wildcat fans can look forward to this year?
I definitely think you're hitting on a strong point with the wide receiver group. There's a lot of experience there. Barry Hill, Jamar Joyner, some guy, Tavian Cunningham takes the top off of the defense, really fast guy. Jalen Johnson, some of the guys we really haven't got an opportunity to see, but watching these guys in spring, that's definitely going to be a strength. And I think if you look at, Jedd's offenses, he runs a precision pass game. I know there's going to be some twists in there this year that we can. I'm just interested to see how he runs it, because I've been following what he does, and he knows how to move the football. Obviously, a lot's going to come down to what happens with the quarterback situation. They're going to have to find somebody there, and I think that they've got some guys that have shown that they can do they can move the ball, but that's going to be very important. Whatever happens with the quarterback situation. And I don't know, the running backs even have impressed me. You got Drake Anderson coming in, and you got a few other guys.
Like Wiley, yeah.
Wiley really impresses me. Jalen John is another guy that I think is gonna, he showed a lot of good things last year. He's probably going to be there more of a power type of a back. I think on the defensive side, I think the D line is something that I'm kind of looking forward to. Getting JB Brown back. I still think Jalen Harris hasn't had that breakout year that I think he's capable of having. I think that under this new coaching staff, under this system that's going to really allow them to get after the defense, you may see guys like Jalen all of a sudden start coming up with a few more sacks. I really like what I've seen with the strength and conditioning program. So I'm excited. I probably always look at things through my red and blue goggles, but that's okay because I played here and that's what I'm expected to do.
It would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the quarterback position that you just touched on. Will Plummer, Gunnar Cruz, and then Jordan McLeod, who we haven't seen yet, coming from South Florida. What are your expectations on who starts game 1 and who starts game 12 this year? What would be your guess just based on what you've seen or heard?
That's a hard one for me to say because there's still a lot of football to be played. From what I saw in spring, I definitely was impressed with Gunnar Cruz. I think Gunnar, what he does very well is he's shown that he can really push the ball down the field. He throws a great deep ball. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do. But I think Will Plummer has shown that he's got moxie, and he's got a certain toughness to him, and he's got a certain it factor to him as well. And I'm definitely interested to see what Jordan McLeod brings to the table. We really don't have a lot to go off of other than what we saw at South Florida. But, and I know in a game last year, he threw like 400 yards or something like that in a game against UCF. And I've watched that film, and he showed a lot of ability. He's athletic. So, like Coach says, I got to roll the football out there and see what happens, when whoever comes out on top. I'm just excited to see.
Lamont, along with rebuilding this roster, obviously one of the big things Jetfish has to really battle is fan apathy. And even before the pandemic, we saw a lot of empty seats at Arizona Stadium. It seems like it's more of a battle, I think, than like men's basketball is sort of the crown jewel at Arizona, and football, it's we'll show up when the team's winning. Jetfish made the point last week. Well, how about if you show up, we'll win? But everything he's done in the offseason, bringing back Teddy Bruschi and Rob Gronkowski, having the world record and everything he's done, how important do you think that'll be to actually putting fans in the seats for this upcoming season, even though expectations for the team itself aren't very high?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think that, all the coaching staff and the team can do is be prepared and go out there and give their best effort. And I really think it's on the fans to come out. When I was playing back in the 90s, we were always, we've always kind of had this relationship with the fans. When things are great, that stadium is overflowing. It's one of the best atmospheres in the conference. And when they're not, it go the other direction. I think in a perfect world, you'd want all your fans to always, show up, come, what are high water. I know like some Big Ten schools, they could be 3-5 and they still have a packed stadium. It just doesn't seem to be that way out west. But I still I think we've got some good fans. I do. I'm not ragging on or anything like that. But I think it's kind of what it is. I think that they definitely need to get behind this team, get behind this staff, and get out there and support them. I think at the end of the day, if you can create a 12th man atmosphere and be that difference in a tough game, in a close game. Sometimes the crowd can be what pushes that team over the edge. And so it's going to take everybody pulling in the right direction, to get this thing going.
You were watching the Territorial Cup game this past year. What's going through your mind during that massacre, and what's it going to take to turn this rivalry around? It's been 4 straight losses to the guys up north.
Yeah, no, that never is going to sit well with me. That game, I don't really like to think about a lot. That last one, because I throw that one away, flush that one down the toilet. That's not a representation of what that game is supposed to be. I don't have a lot to say about about that game where you let them get 70 on us, but it's what it is. It's in the past. I'm just looking forward to seeing what Coach Fish can do in this rivalry. He definitely understands the importance of it. He's had a chance to sit down with guys like Bruschi, and you got Chuck Cecil on the staff, and you got some guys that understand what this rivalry is, and I think he understands it too. It's something that if you want to be the coach here, you better understand what this rivalry is about, and it's something that's important to the communities, both communities up in Phoenix and out here. So I think he fully understands that, and I'm not worried too much about that right now. I'm just, I'm optimistic, and I'm waiting to see what happens when the season gets going.
So Shane's favorite ASU U of A game was 2008, where the Wildcats won 31-10. Mine was 2014, 42-35. Throughout your time associated with Arizona athletics from 1990 onward, what is your favorite Arizona State memory, either as a player or a broadcaster or a fan?
Oh man, there's a bunch of them right now. I've been doing this broadcasting thing now for almost 18 years. A good one that really stands out to me that I'll never remember, it was super exciting, was I want to say it was the 98 season, Trump candidate, when I think he probably rushed for maybe, 250 on him. That was an exciting game. It was a back and forth game. You're on the edge of your seat the entire night, the entire game. Todd Heap for ASU was going off in that game. It was just a dogfight. That one really stands out. Probably the one that I will never forget, though, was my first one. We were playing ASU. I was a true freshman. I remember I was walking out to the stadium, and as I got I kind of had my head down when I was walking out to the stadium just to kind of go warm up. And when I went through the tunnel and kind of looked up, everyone started booing. I thought they were booing me, and I couldn't figure out why everyone was booing. And I looked in front of me, and we had our starting linebacker, Chris Singleton, was standing up in front of. He was walking out on the field, and he had both, what's raised. Flipping the bird, and the whole stadium was booing him, and I was behind him. I didn't realize it, so I was like, well, what did I just walk into here? And as the game went on, we call this the banana suit incident. They came out in they had the maroon and gold uniforms on, and then they went in at halftime and changed and came back out in these yellow banana uniforms. It was hilarious. And anyway, we beat them down. They started out ahead, and as the game went on, we beat them down, took over the game, beat them. And so that was my first, introduction to the game and the intensity of it. I can remember Chuck Cecil. Coach told me that Chuck Cecil come and talk to us before the game. And Chuck just exploded in the locker room. My eyes were kind of big, like, whoa, this is serious. We had a player on the team, Donnie Salem, that in the locker room was getting really intense before the game. He flipped the table up in the air, split one of our linebackers' head wide open. He's bleeding in the locker room. Coach Dwayne Keenan was our secondary coach. He looks over at the guy who's bleeding, and he says, that's a way to spill some blood for the Wildcats. And everybody just got up and got fired up. But it was kind of a crazy situation. But, we went out there and won the game. It was an exciting game. It was fun. I understood the intensity of that game right away from what the seniors did. Coach Tomey always did a great job of just putting a huge emphasis on the importance of that game. So I was part of those teams that were part of that 8-year winning streak. So definitely understand the importance of that game. And I'm sure that message is strong. Coach Fish, and I'm looking forward to seeing, him and how they perform against ASU.
Now, your last game in college was the 94 Fiesta Bowl, which was my team growing up was the University of Miami. My parents went there, so that was my team growing up. So I actually despised U of A because of that game, what you guys did to Miami, 29-0. You got one catch for 18 yards in that game, so you're in the box score. What do you remember about that beatdown at Sun Devil Stadium?
A lot. First thing was that, we lost to Miami. I think that was our third time playing them. We played them one year. They came down to Tucson and they beat us like 31-0. They were the number one rated team in the country. And then we went back up there, kind of the first year the Desert Swarm was kind of, getting their legs under them. And they beat us, I think, 7-8 or something like that, or 8-6. We missed the last second field goal, almost upset them. So going into the Fiesta Bowl, we had a lot of confidence. We knew, like, okay, we played these guys, and we played them when they were the number one rated team in the country, and we felt like we deserved to win that game. In the Fiesta Bowl, when we played them, we looked at these guys on film, and we were like, you guys aren't as good as that team that we beat. That was the number one rated team, and they had some pretty good players on the team. They had Warren Sapp on the team, they had Ray Lewis, they had some good players, but we looked at the film, and we were just like, this team is not if they put play like this, what we're seeing on film against us, we felt like we were going to beat them down, and that's pretty much what happened. When we got there, when they, they came out, and we would look at teams on film, and we were like, if you drop back and do this, 5-6 step drop stuff and sit back there in the pocket and think you're going to pat the ball with this defense, you got another thing coming. And Teddy Bruschi and Rob Waldrop and those guys, they just ate. I mean, they were murdering the quarterback the whole night. My cousin was the starting running back for Miami. His name was Donnell Bennett. That's my cousin, and we just put it to him in that game. I'll never forget it. A fun day. Another thing going into that game, I ended up starting that game. I wasn't the starting fullback. That whole week. My roommate, his name was Billy Johnson. He was our starting running back, and on game day. I walked in the locker room and I saw him all hooked up to an IV, and I was like, "What's going on?" And they were like, "You're starting today," and I was like, "What?" And so I start the game, So I ended up playing, the whole game, and it was a fun time. I mean, we just, it was just a great game. Miami all week in Phoenix thought that, they're on all the clubs and everything, and just were walking around like they were, going to really do something to us, and we just beat them down, and we fully expected to do it, and that's pretty much what happened.
Lamont, I got one more question for you, and we really appreciate your time once again. Arizona's had some very good individual seasons. Obviously, the Desert Swarm era, 98, 2014 most recently. It's been difficult for the Wildcats to sustain that success. What's it going to take for Arizona to become, I mean, I'm not saying like a national championship contender, but like a perennially good top 25 football team for multiple seasons?
Well, I think first of all, you got to understand, you have to understand what type of a program this is. And from my experiences, the coaches that have had success here understand that Arizona is it's more of a developmental program from a standpoint of, when you recruit here, you also have to recruit knowing that you're going to have to develop players. Now, obviously, if you get it going and you start winning, it doesn't take a lot for a kid to want to go into a team that's winning games already, or to recruit a kid to a team that's already winning games. But, in the meantime, we're kind of in a location where, people don't automatically know where we are. So it's one of those things where you have to constantly be grinding on the recruiting trail. You don't expect kids to just come. But once you get them on campus and they see, Tucson, and see what type of an atmosphere we have here, and you present the program in the right light, you continue to develop, players. I think that the strategy that Arizona has right now is just spectacular. I think that, having a pro, pushing the pro model, having NFL coaches on our staff. I mean that's an easy one when you're talking to kids that have a dream to play in the NFL, and you can say, "Oh, great, come on over here, check this out. This guy right here coached in the NFL. This guy right here was a first-round draft pick. Ricky Hundley was a top 10 draft pick. Chuck Cecil was the defensive coordinator, for the Rams. For Jed Fish, he was offensive coordinator for Jacksonville. He coached for the Rams. He coached for the Patriots. If you want to have an opportunity to get to the league, and you have the ability, guess what? If you come here, we got guys that can help you get prepared for that. And I think that message is already resonating. And I just think that, as long as you start to see the success, I don't think anybody's expecting them to win the conference in year one. But when you start to see these guys develop, and you just have to build it. You got to keep building it. That's the key. You can never, rest on your laurels, think you don't have to start recruiting. But I think you can build it up to us and get it going. I've seen Coach Tomey, I think, got it going. And I thought Rich Rod was on track, but you can get it going. You can win here is what I'm saying. I was a part of a team that went 10-2 here. You can win here, but you just have to respect what this job is and just grind. If you grind and you respect this job, you can definitely win here. But yeah, if you can just continue to build this thing, it's not out of reach, man. And I think that we've got an opportunity if we can get the right guys in here on I think that this coaching staff has a real opportunity to have some success, but they're just going to have to continue to recruit and there's no magic to this thing, but at the same time, it can be done. You can win here. Like I said, we've gotten right at the doorstep of it, so I know it can happen. But you just got to have someone that's engaged here and that believes in this program and continues to build it. And it's going to happen. But I want to see it happen in my lifetime because we've gotten so close, but we still haven't gotten there yet. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful.
Well, Lamont, we really appreciate you coming on with us. We'll be hearing you on the radio this fall, and we really hope to have you back on to come talk with us, break down, some of the games during the year, and just great analysis and great stories, from your playing days at ASU one about throwing a table, Donnie Salem throwing a table and splitting open a teammate's head. Just great stuff. Really appreciate it. And, best of luck on the air. We'll be listening and look forward to having you back on here again soon.
Thanks, guys. Bear down.
Very excited to have a top prospect for Arizona's 2022 recruiting class, Kyron Chambers, out of South Oak Cliff High School in Dallas, Texas, a 6-foot cornerback, 3-star recruit by 24/7 Sports, even though I will predict that will go up this fall, just a bold prediction. Joins us here in Wildcat Country. Kyron, glad to have you. First of all, I think the obvious question is, so why Arizona? You're in Texas, so what made you choose Jedfish and the Wildcats?
It was basically because, of the relationship. We had talked about, their intentions, talking about my future, he let me know how important I am to that staff, how important I am to this team, in the future, what a big impact that I would be to that team. We ain't talk about no image likeness. That was a good thing about it. It was nothing about strictly just ball, It was we talked about, just kindness. We talked about, just personality, just life itself. It's not just, just about football. I felt the real love, I was with, some of the teammates, it felt like a family, going in as a corner at my size, that was a big part in my decision also. Me just getting my weight down to 185, actually planning on to be, a little bit lighter going into, my senior season, then to college, that was a big impact, and good thing that they was able to help me with that. It was just deeper, connections, good. I feel the love from the whole staff, from the whole coaching staff, from the whole teammates also. And we had already talked about my plans, going to the future about, my athletic career so far. And that's what stood out. That's what stood out with them.
Kyron, what's your relationship like with Dwayne Walker, Arizona's cornerbacks coach, and what did he do to help convince you that Tucson was where you needed to be?
We talked, even before he hit me. I remember talking, and I remember he had quizzed me, he about, about the conference, he just picked my brain a little bit. He asked me about my IQ, my progression, stuff like that. And that was just one punch of it, going into us building the connection, us building a relationship with each other. And, us talking a little bit about more ball, about his experience, where he came from, just life itself, football. We talked a lot of ball. Then once I met him in person, I met Coach Don. I met Coach Don Brown. I met Coach Razul. I met that whole staff. It just felt like it felt like a family. It felt like somewhere I would want to be a part of. Even though it's always hot. Also, I'm in Texas, so it's like it's always going to be hot. So it's not nothing that's that I'm not used to. But there was one thing, our relationship got tighter. We talked a lot of ball. Then we talked about, his intentions and what they're planning on for my future. And we talked about that early, and we just picked up on that every time that we talked.
So you mentioned Don Brown, and it seems like everyone loves to play for that guy. Obviously, he's known as Dr. Blitz. But what do you got to know him a little bit? What are your thoughts on Coach Brown, and what's your relationship with him like at this point?
One thing I do know, when I met him in person, he's a straightforward type of guy. He if everyone knows, he love the blitz. He bring pressure. He have a lot of offenses on their heels. First thing he said when he met me, he said how I feel about blitzing. Either in the box or either at corner at times. Sometimes just different. different ways. You know, he was just talking to me. Then he talked to me about ball. We talked about IQ. You know, whenever we had our personal meetings, you know, he really knows the game. You know, it's a defensive coordinator. You know, that I love to be under. And I feel that he'll put me in the right position. You know, to get to where I'm get me to where I need to be in life.
When you think about your game, who do you model it after as a corner?
As a corner, I give it to Jair Alexander. Maybe mostly because you know my physicality, my athleticism, you know the way that I could play, my IQ, versatility. You know, it's like I can play different aspects of my game. You know, and sometimes I can give it a little bit to Jalen Ramsey also because you know my way of my ability to play man through the whole game. You know, and deep down the league in the NFL, you know, they have a lot of teams that play, you know, mainly man, and that's the main focus. You have to always be able to play man. You know, good thing that where I'm going, you know, man is something that you will have to be able to play. So when I get there, you know, it's like it's something that I already have an edge on, you know, and it'll be able to, you know, be easier for me, you know, to pick up on where I left off from high school to college. So
I know you still have another year of high school to go, but how ready do you think you are to play right away in college as compared to, you know, maybe taking a redshirt year and going from there? Mm-hmm. Do you have a preference as to whether I'm ready to go right away, or, you know, it's probably better to sit a year, gain some experience, and then be ready to go after your redshirt year?
Personally, I feel, as in my opinion, I wouldn't want to sit out at all because I feel that, you know, physically I'm always ready. You know, the game is 90% mental now. So once I mentally be prepared, I'll be ready for anything. You know, going into my senior season, you know, that's just to prepare me for my freshman year of college. You know, my mindset going into it is like, you know, I'm finna take somebody's spot. You know, I want to get on the field. I want to play. You know, that's just how my mindset going into it so far, you know. If I knew that I wouldn't be able to compete in a spot to play, then, you know, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't consider them, you know. But besides that, you know, that's just my mindset going into it so far.
Kyron, you mentioned real quick that the recruiting process was really about on the field and working hard and getting to the next level, as opposed to, you know, the name, image, likeness, which obviously is a big deal now. Is that something that really one of the reasons that Arizona really appealed to you, and is that maybe a contrast from what maybe some of the other schools were trying to pitch you?
You know, my focus, you know, just like my one of my previous friends, you know, from my 707 team, Evan Stewart, you know, he previously spoke on it, you know, about the image and like in the lie, you know, it's like that's not something that I was looking forward into, you know. I feel that that's gonna naturally come, you know, based off of your play, based off of your game. So, you know, it's not exactly what I was looking to. My mind was, you know, what do you have in store for me? What do you like about me? What do you think that, you know, what's part of my game that I can that can affect, that can have a big impact on your game, and that what can make your team better? You know, coming onto the field, you know, everybody loves my enthusiasm, my personality, you know. So it's just like my whole mind was just football only, you know. When the money, the everything else, they'll just come later. So I wasn't really worried about it.
Last question for you, Kyron. We appreciate your time. Tell us about Kyron Chambers away from football. You know, what do you like to do with your time out there in Dallas? Any hobbies or talents that you can share with us that people might not know about you?
Personally, let me see. What do I like to do outside of football? Outside of football, you know, think about me. I work out a lot. I do a lot of, you know, football related things. So it's like, it's basically my life, you know. But maybe one day out 5 7 days, maybe on a Saturday or something. I maybe go to, one of my friends' houses, or just to kick it, just to play the game, or just talk or just chill, or I maybe go to a party, or just something like that. Maybe sometimes even I maybe go to the mall, or go swimming. 'Cause I am starting to actually like to swim more. Uh, but besides that, I just like to basically gather. I don't like to be around a lot of packs, because they can get you a lot of situations that you wouldn't want to be in. That's one thing that I learned growing up. So it's like, I stay to myself a lot. So if it's not me, going to the mall, or going swimming, going to my friend's house, then I don't really do anything else. I maybe play the game. I'm planning on starting to feed the homeless more. I actually do some community stuff. Doing stuff in my community, stuff like that, going into my senior season. That's about it for me going forward.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, you definitely have a lot of time off the field, and you have a good head on your shoulders. Now, I have to ask you one last question. My co-host here has written 2 books about the ASU U of A rivalry. I know he cringes when I mention that. But what do you know about ASU and U of A? What have you heard about the rivalry?
Oh Lord. Well, to be honest, I really haven't heard much about the rivalry, but one thing I do know is, a lot of people looking forward to the next game because of, the beating that Arizona took previously. I believe it was 77, right?
70-7. We'll be hearing about it the rest of our lives. Yep.
Yeah, it's all good. Me personally, I didn't even care about the losing record, or the feast that they had. I looked at the love, and I looked at the game about it. I looked at the new coaching staff. That's a good thing that I really love about that program. The thing about Jed Fish, he put everything in the past. A lot of people they can maybe. They have their past seasons. A lot of people judge people off that. But the thing about Jed Fish, he's really like, he deleted every part of, the past Arizona, So the new class that's coming in is gonna make Arizona. And that's the thing that was one thing that I really loved about, joining their team, So yeah, about this rivalry. I just know when I come, personally, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be a game for sure.
And there you have it, Kyron Chambers. He gets it. Now we'll have to teach him a little bit more about the rivalry, but he gets it. So Kyron, thank you so much for joining us here in Wildcat Country. Best of luck your senior season, and we really are excited to see you on the field in Tucson in 2022 and beyond.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys.
Want to thank Lamont Lovett and Kyron Chambers for joining us. Just cool stories that Lamont gave us. We'll start there, Shane. The story about Donnie Salem flipping over the table, the Chuck Cecil speech. I mean, just kind of cool insight that, if people had read your book, for your first book, they would have known about the Cecil speech. So it's kind of cool if you haven't checked that out. I know Shane likes to roll his eyes, as he did when I brought it up during Kyron's interview, but check out Territorial Cup. The history of the rivalry. And where can they find that, Shane? Amazon.com, I believe.
Well, Eric, if you're going to plug my book, get the title right, okay? It's Territorial, the History of the Duel in the Desert. And along those lines, and I do appreciate the plugs. I never ask for them. I want people to know that. But it's funny, and we told Lamont this after we're done talking to him for the podcast. Whenever I ask someone about that 89 game, like, what do you – I always just – when I did the interviews for the book, I always would just ask, what do you remember most from that game? It was very open-ended. I want to give people a chance to just say what they remembered most. And inevitably, every player I talked to mentioned the same 2 things. First, the Chuck Cecil speech, which I guess was just like he was so crazed in the locker room that everyone remembered it. And obviously it worked. They won the game. And then those uniforms, the banana bowl, as they call it, where they come out in these all yellow uniforms that even ASU's coach Larry Marmee had told me, yeah, in hindsight, that probably wasn't a good idea. He was trying to light a fire under the team because they'd lost so many in a row to Arizona, and it didn't work. So anyway, yeah, it was. I love talking to guys. I didn't get to talk to Lamont for my book, but I love talking to guys about their favorite memories and especially about the ASU rivalry because they're all passionate about it. And then Kyron, I love what he said about focusing on the game. I think we haven't talked about this yet, but there is a lot of potential, obviously, for distractions for players now that they have a chance to make money away from football, and endorsements. And it's going to be a bigger issue for some than others. And I feel bad for the coaches who are going to try to have to keep these guys focused, which is a tough enough job already. I like that Kyron said, one of the reasons he loved Arizona is because it was all about ball and not about the outside stuff. So, and it was very much a family feel. So it seems like Arizona's done a really good job of getting those guys. And they're getting guys who don't just have offers from like Bowling Green or other schools. They're getting guys who have legit offers from very good universities. And Kyron Chambers is one of those guys. So they need to keep improving in that area. But as far as 2022, you look at the recruiting class so far, they're off to a fantastic start.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And the other thing that Kyron said that was interesting is he wants to play right away. He doesn't want to shy away from, bulking up his freshman year. He's like, put me on the field. Let me go at it. And that is a kind of a risky proposition in a Don Brown defense, where, as we kind of talked about it earlier, corners are on an island. There's going to be a lot of big plays that go against Arizona during Don Brown's tenure, but Arizona's going to get more pressure on the quarterback than we've seen in a long time. I mean, under Jeff Castile's defense in the Rich Rod era, outside of Scooby Wright, there wasn't a ton of pressure on the quarterback. We haven't really seen the Wildcats take over a game on the defensive line since Brooks Reed, Ricky Elmore back in under Mike Stoops. So it'll be kind of fun to actually see the quarterback under some duress. That's one thing that has always frustrated me since Rich Rod took over, and obviously under Sumlin, no pressure. And that was always annoying. But just a quick segue here, Shane. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say, Eric, I don't know how the Dr. Blitz is going to work. I don't know how it's all going to work out. I'm just excited to see a defense that doesn't drop 8 all the time. It drives me up the wall. I understand that it works sometimes. I remember still in the 2014 game against ASU, that final drive, it worked then. It worked on that final possession, but there's just so many times where the quarterback has all day, and so I don't know how it's going to work out. Like you said, quarterbacks are going to have their work cut out for them because they're going to be on an island. There'll be a lot of one-on-one situations, but I'm excited to see a different approach and give Don Brown some guys, over the next couple of years, and I think he can really create something special.
Now, I know you had mentioned you wanted to talk about this. DeAndre Ayton and the Suns lost in the NBA Finals to Milwaukee. If you've been hiding under a rock, then you probably missed that. But for the rest of us, the Bucks won 4 straight and won the series 4-2. DeAndre Ayton still had a fantastic playoffs, but he almost regressed a little bit down the stretch. Your thoughts, Shane, on his play and what you expect to see from him going forward?
I wouldn't say he regressed. I've told people, I feel like if DeAndre Ayton had Devin Booker's confidence, he'd be unstoppable. He just needs to believe in himself. And I'm not going to lament the Suns. I'm a lifelong Suns fan. I've complained on Twitter enough. I won't do it here. But Ayton's emergence is a big reason they got to the finals. Not only the big dunk at the end of Game 2 against the Clippers, but he just did a lot of things that he didn't do in the regular season. He really matured throughout the playoff series. I think he lost a little bit of confidence down the stretch against Giannis and the Bucks. But there was a play in particular in Game 5. I actually had a chance to go to Game 5 in Phoenix. And there was a play in particular where I think it was Cameron Payne threw the ball. He penetrated, threw the ball to Ayton, who probably would have had a dunk if he would have caught the ball cleanly. Instead, he fumbled it a bit. Bucks got the ball, went on a fast break, ended up popping a 3 and hitting it. It was like a 5-point swing. Part of their rally, I think, in the second quarter, if I remember right. So if Ayton's able to overcome that, and he's only 22 years old, I have to remember that. The kid's only 22. He really is still a kid. He's only 22. If he continues to improve and we see more of the Ayton that we saw at times during the NBA Finals, he could be elite. And it's one of the things that I thought, even at Arizona, I felt he was holding back a little bit. He could be as good as he wants to be. So that's all I wanted to say. Ayton's a U of A guy. I wish him the best. I hope he's part of a Suns team that wins the championship down the line, even though I cynically think that might never happen during my lifetime. But it was good to see Ayton doing well, and all the kid needs is confidence. I feel like I'm okay to call him a kid because I'm a whole adult older than him, okay? And I interviewed him when he was 17 years old, even though he towers over me. But he just needs some confidence. I think Monty Williams is the perfect coach for him, and he can be he can be a perennial all-star pretty much, I think, when he decides to be, and he just believes in himself a little bit more.
Last question. I always like to put you on the spot here. Which do you think is more likely in your lifetime, a Suns championship or an Arizona Rose Bowl?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, I'm putting you on the spot here.
Okay, well, I'll play it like this. With the addition of the college football playoff, if they add more teams, the whole Pac-12, Big Ten thing might eventually be thrown out the window, making it less likely Arizona would get there in the first place. So I'm going to go with Suns championship, just because I feel like there are fewer barriers there. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I would take one or the other in my lifetime. I don't expect either. I would take one or the other.
Well, I got a Cubs World Series for my personal rooting interests, and I think Arizona will make a Rose Bowl in the next 15 years. Now, who knows what the affiliation will be, but Arizona will play in a bowl game, in the Rose Bowl game, whatever correlation it is at that point, they will play in that. And I think we'll see a Suns championship in our lifetimes as well. But, one can be optimistic. Thanks to our guests, Lamont Lovett and Kyron Chambers. Thanks to our friends at All AZ Sports. Always glad to be a part of their network. Check out Bernie and Dalby talking golf. And we got some Cardinal shows starting up soon, Suns. And, of course, Crespin and Schubert, they're doing their show starting up here soon. A lot of great content, plus our All AZ bets with Chris Schubert and myself. So really looking forward to seeing this All AZ Sports website flourish as we certainly expect. So we're glad to be a part of that. For my co-host Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening, and as always, bear down.